As the scene ends, she then, through somewhat um, personal erotic humor and curiosities, walked Masandi back from the balcony into the meeting room. I can't seem to get my mind off things, Masandi. You seem to be excited and have much anticipation, Daenerys. I do. I try to not let the show, but great is the excitement of knowing that this one from another world is due to arrive. I often wonder if um, he would be receptive enough to share things, experiences. Well, what kind of things were you thinking of? I mean, if that's not too personal to ask. No, it's not, Miss Sandy. Well, perhaps he will want a bath, and I could share my tub with him. They both start laughing about this. You think this is funny? No, my queen, but I can imagine that would be, well, it would be quite the experience for you. Yes, I know. And then I might see just how big is um, pulling two stones are. Aren't you supposed to find this out when you put him through a test? Yes. I guess I get to see it twice then. Oh, wow. Well, we should keep this down. We don't want um, gossip and rumors going through the palace. No. So they both try to regain composure from this erotic mere suggestion of certain plans that she has for him. I've been wondering, though he has a title that just barely qualifies him for me to have him as a suitor, does he live in a palace like ours? Or was it destroyed because of this catastrophic event that will send him to our world, to which he cannot return? I'm not sure, my uh, Daenerys. Well, if it's not a palace, maybe it's a mansion, or even smaller, maybe an estate. I'm not sure what a duke of his world would be living in as far as living quarters go. Perhaps I shall find out when he arrives, where I'll have many questions for him, indeed. You probably will learn much from him, I would imagine. You think so? She looks over at Nasandi with a slight smile, her head slightly tilted. Yes, because it will be a historical moment for our world. Never in Targaryen history, or any history of the known kingdoms, has such a human ever visited us in such a way. Yes, and this it will be history in the making. What can we learn from him? What does he have to share with us? And in turn, what can we share with him or learn from him? Well, perhaps since it was mentioned that he comes from a world that represents dragons, and Daenerys got this big smile on her face. And you seem to delight in this, I've noticed. Well, yes, I did not know there'd be another world that would have dragons. Um, the fact that one who comes from a world of legend, this human that has dragons, it should be quite interesting to find out how this symbolical male dragon, of whom I will wake with a mere touch of my hand during a time of distress, would come into my world, though I be the stronger female dragon by symbology. It is that which even excites me more because I love my dragons, and I'm not sure as to, though I am curious, how many dragons has he had in his world? I have many questions to ask him. So many things go through my mind, and yet I have no answers because he is not here yet. Well, it should be quite the conversation you two have. Yes, and I so look forward to this. And as far as strange clothing go, I mean, she looking at herself in a Masandi. How strange would his clothing be? I can imagine maybe it's brightly colored, maybe shaped differently. This too has got me many questions. How can one from another world wear strange clothes? I mean, would they not be dressed somewhat like us? Well, maybe his world is like another country. They don't always wear the same things. Maybe something close. Well, she kind of snakes it out of her head. Yes, Daenerys. Well, I can imagine him coming to us in the nude. He's supposed to be very modest, you know. He will start laughing. No, that would be very unusual. Yes, it would. Not that I would mind, but no, he will be dressed just in strange clothing. Well, I have so much to ponder. So with that, they continue walking, and being that not only she is the handmaiden to Daenerys, but they seem to be, again, as the best of friends, talk about many things. Meantime, Littlefinger seems to be doing pretty good, turning coin to make funding while in refuge, doing his trade that he does best. If it's not for brothels, it's doing other business that he is accustomed to. Bren sees um, a vision of the past, and this one will kind of haunt him because there's something that he doesn't seem to understand. The first vision he had long ago was about Jon Snow bleeding in the snow. So how could he be alive? This one keeps him puzzled, and he seems to have a bit of a problem trying to figure this one out. He feels that one day he's going to end up explaining it to someone who is not in the world. Arya does her job, and her job is to protect her sister because, again, she is supposed to have rightful claim to that of Winterfell's throne. She does practicing of sword skills to keep them well honed and sharp. Sansa, in the meantime, does much study, as that was, for her, it is quite the thing to keep one's self well learned of tactics, and thus to make her a better future queen should the opportunity arise that she should get Winterfell back and sit on the Winterfell throne. This, of course, now is the end of the episode 9 because as the scene closes at nighttime before it goes into the next episode, a bright light will shine like a shaft. It hits the water, and as much sounding of the water boiling, they do wake up, they go outside, watch, don't say nothing, then they go back inside and decide to discuss things the next day. You know, another during a time of their sleep, the camera again spans outward toward the balcony from where she sleeps. It is a particularly quiet night, not even one of their worlds known as the human would reflect on in his world. A cricket makes a chirp, but the breeze blows gently. And it shows far out beyond Slaver's Bay into the deep waters a globe, small at first, and then becomes like that of a ring. And with the clouds spiraling up above, as if, like that of the human world of Earth, a tornado is about to start, or a hurricane. And suddenly, with a loud, thunderous sound, a shaft of light plunges into the waters far out from Slaver's Bay, causing the waters to boil in such a manner that is as if the waters are being heated. And as the shaft of light gets bigger and bigger, lightning bolts, not like ordinary lightning bolts, circle around about while they flash around this pillar of light. And a great splash is heard, but can't be seen even if one could see, because it is within the pillar of the light that such a loud splash sound occurs. And so during this scene, as this shaft of light then dissipates from the circling flashes of lightning, then gets smaller and smaller, and finally the shaft of light disappears. The sky above of the clouds stops spiraling, and eventually the bright ring goes back down to a small form and disappears, and the boiling waters ceases. And this is a musical scene from that event that occurs. suddenly wakes Daenerys up with much anticipation and a little bit of fear, as it did Miss Sandy. And they both go on the balcony, looking at each other, looking out. Did you hear it? Yes, and there was a bright light, and like that of thunder. I I wonder if he's... Well, no, it couldn't be. What is it, Daenerys? Well, a thought did occur. What if he's here to take the Iron Throne, for which I'm entitled to? Do you think he really would do this? Even though the visionary has said that he would not want the throne. I don't know. I didn't expect that if this was his arrival, would be such a force and power of light. Well, if there's anything out there, I'm sure it would come ashore, like the visionary said. Yes, perhaps you're right. I would say, Daenerys, not to be fearful, and yet to be cautious. Perhaps when this one does arrive, you could test him right at first to see how honest he is. Ask him, is he here to take your throne? And even to take your life? See how he responds. Obviously, guards will be posted nearby in case he tries such a treacherous thing. That is good. And I thank you for your advice. Perhaps this is what I should do. But you might come to be surprised once you finally learn to break both of you learn to break the language barrier that will be between you, because I imagine you don't speak like us. You may come to find that all that the visionary has told you is true, and he neither wants your life nor your throne. But this is my best suggestion. I thank you, Asante. Well, I'm going to return back to my chamber to sleep, and I do hope you will try to get some rest, not let this bother you because of what has just happened, though we missed it. But great was the light that I saw and the thunderings sounds. Yes, as I heard it as well. Well, I shall take my leave unless you need anything you need of me further, Daenerys. No, that is fine. We should probably keep this in confidence, though we didn't quite get to see all that was happening. Because maybe people will think something evil about it. Yet this could be the most unexpectedness of his arrival. That is true. Well then, good night, my queen. Good night, Masandi. So Masandi returns to her chambers to go back to sleep. Daenerys looks out, wondering. And then she shakes her head. No, he would not want the throne or her life. And this can't be an invasion. But could he have that kind of power like she does? She kind of wonders about this. Kind of with a slight smile. Her eyes focused on Slaver's Bay as she turns to go to sleep and then looks straight ahead and finally goes back to sleep.